We're broadcasting from the Eisenman booth at the Fuel Ethanol Workshop in St. Louis. Joining us now is Dan Simon, the Chief Operating Officer and Executive Vice President for BioFuels Energy. Dan is based in Denver, Colorado. Dan, thank you for joining us. Certainly, as we look at the ethanol industry today and we see the crowd that is here at this meeting, for example, these people are survivors. It's been a rough couple of years, but now there's some optimism returning to the industry.
Yeah, it's good to see. There's no doubt the companies that have survived the last couple of years have proven their ability to survive in a very competitive industry in a tough cycle. And I am expecting to see some great things coming in the next couple of years as technology gets better and people start to add on some technologies such as Eisenman thin stillage digestion, as well as corn oil extraction and units of those types that are going to help drive down the cost of production and make these plants more efficient.
That's really the key for the industry to move forward. Having come through those hard times, now use the technologies that are becoming available to be able to transition into that next generation.
Yes. I'm hoping we see that speed up. Capital is still an issue. Coming out of the recession, watching the demand base for transportation fuels increase. Certainly the market we're dealing with right now is a lot of talking and a lot of effort put into financing. People are looking at the technologies, but I do think that will start to pick up next year.
There are some key issues. This will be a critical year for the ethanol industry as we look at getting an announcement on E15 from EPA, the VTEC, the tax incentive that's due to expire at the end of the year, getting it renewed. So what's happened to the biodiesel industry doesn't happen to the ethanol industry. These are the types of issues that it requires a strong, unified voice coming out of the ethanol industry to address.
That's something I'm very passionate about. I believe that the tendency for our industry, as young as it is, and the difficulties we've had, it is very easy for us to go in separate paths. And the issues that you just presented, I mean, VTEC, E12 or E15, hoping it's E15, but we have to be prepared for E12, as well as our tariffs and our continued effort to work together as an alliance, as one ethanol alliance. I think ACE, Growth Energy, RFA all need to work together well, as well. I believe the biomass and advanced biofuel industry need to work together as one voice. We're all selling into the transportation fuels market. We will all have feed products on the back end. We are all, in a way, competing against a little bit the oil lobbies as well as the National Petroleum Refiners Association, as well as Grocery Manufacturers Association. I think we've lost this battle over the last 5 years, and I think we need to start taking advantage of the opportunities presented us right now in the geopolitical system and try to come together and work harder at being one voice.
As an ethanol producer, how do you see your role as we move forward in energy in this country? And what role does ethanol, do you think, play?
I think ethanol has met critical mass. I believe that you will see ethanol as a growing part of the transportation fuel network in the United States as we move forward in the next 10 to 20, 30, 50 years. I believe that our company plays a part of that, and we need to support our industry and our associations. I think that we need to put the word out better, more clear, how ethanol will support the future of our energy complex. I'm not saying ethanol is the solution, nor am I saying corn ethanol is the only answer. I'm saying that there should be an ethanol plant in every state in the country, different feedstocks, produced efficiently, effectively, at a lower price than oil. And in the future, I believe you're going to see a E20, E25 as a normal percent in any gas tank anywhere in the United States. And that's what I'm hoping to see.
We're also seeing an advancement in the byproducts or the co-products coming out of ethanol production, and that's also a big key to the future.
Absolutely. I think people forget that there is co-products. You have ethanol and you have a distilled grain product, and when you're a biomass producer, you're still going to have a high protein feed product. So all these ethanol plants will have two products out there, and I think the markets for those will open up too. As you've seen, we've been able to displace a lot of corn with DDGS. Now, in the RFS too, they don't like to talk about it. They don't like to talk about it in ILUC. They don't like to talk about it in the oil industry. But the fact is, we're not actually using that much corn compared to the amount of DDGS that we can put out. And as we find better uses of DDGS, it can actually improve the feedstock process in the United States.
As an ethanol producer, does your marketing strategy or your business approach have to change looking forward from what it's been in the past?
No question. We've all been war tested. The last 3 years have been very difficult for the industry, and everybody has had to look at their value proposition a little bit differently, and we will continue to, as any industry, but especially as a commodities industry and especially as a new commodity industry. We're going to have to reapply and reapproach every piece of the value chain every year. And right now, if you look at the amount of time and effort these companies have put into, our company included, to decrease the amount of energy we use to produce a gallon of ethanol is just one example. And then again, as we look for higher value co-products produced from our plants, that will be another example of areas where you'll see ethanol plants expand and grow.
You know, that's an area that the industry doesn't get the credit for that it deserves. More efficiency, using less energy to produce ethanol, and we're finding using less water too. But those are two areas that critics have jumped all over the industry, but the analysis now shows, the studies show that the industry is getting so much better at it than they have been in the past, but yet that usually doesn't get the headlines. But I know when we're looking to the future, those efficiencies are the key for this industry moving forward.
No question, and we are hoping to get that word out better through this, let's call it the association of the associations, the alliance. I think we have to get that word out. But the fact is, the amount of water we use for an ethanol plant, we're 100% process recycle at both our plants. So, you know, we're using less than 3 gallons of water per gallon of ethanol produced. A standard coal plant, I think the number was in the 8 gallons per gallon of ethanol produced. So I think what you'll see in the future is better recognition of that. We have to present as one voice and a more marketing acceptable approach to how we utilize water and energy in the ethanol industry. And let's advertise a little bit that we've improved these efficiencies.
And to me, it shows what we said all along. The industry really is still in its infancy, and critics wanted the ethanol industry to be immediately where, say, the petroleum industry had already been able to get to after years and years. You know, certain things were accepted. The ethanol industry was just coming on, and people said, well, it's got to be all things right now, fix all problems, it's got to meet all these standards. We said, let the industry grow and evolve, and that's what we're seeing happen.
Standard cycle of any new business, and if you go back to the oil and gas world from 1920s and 1910s, same thing. Everybody had their issues. You had to work through it. You're driving efficiency. And if you go to an oil refinery today, you will continue to see ways to drive efficiencies, drive effectiveness. And you'll see the same thing with the ethanol industry. What do we have, 1983 till now? So I think you'll see a lot of improvement in the next 10 years.
As an ethanol producer, are you optimistic about the future?
I am. I believe it's bumpy and it's tough. But the people who have survived the last few years, I think, are here to stay. And I believe you'll see this industry for the long term coming.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
That is Dan Simon, Chief Operating Officer, Executive Vice President for BioFuels Energy from Denver, as we broadcast from the Eisman booth at the Fuel Ethanol Workshop in St. Louis. I'm Mike Adams.